Bye. It's here. My Skarper e-bike drive unit. Let's go. Well, hello, welcome back to my channel everyone, and today I'm in my workshop because it's a great day. I've received my Skarper unit. This is a e-bike drive unit that is attachable to any bike and uses the disc brake rotor on the rear as its gearbox and its form of driving the rear wheel forward. So I saw this at the National Cycling Exhibition and I test rode it, and I thought, well, this is quite interesting because I'd always been waiting for an e-bike motor that would attach to one of my existing bikes. I didn't really want to change my wheels. I've got Hope Pro 5 hubs on this particular bike that I'm looking to try it out on, which are great wheels. And the bike is a restoration project. I've had this frame lying around for a while, but I brought it back to life, put a nice high-rise stem on it, cane creep suspension seat post, and it's got 26-inch wheels. So compared to riding a 29er around or a gravel bike, it feels really quite slow. So I'm intending to build this up as a little bit of a utility, leisure / experimental bike. I've never had an e-bike before. I've been a mountain biker, a bike packer for many years. I've done lots of different disciplines. And what I'm going to do is obviously test the unit out, come out on some rides, show you what my thoughts are, and give you a real in-depth experience. And if you have any questions, please ask them in the comments. Please subscribe and like the channel. Look at my other e-propulsion videos that I've done on electric outboard motors, and just generally hope you enjoy. It says on the box, Skarper, one disc drive rotor, 2024, all rights reserved, dynamic climb, registered to patents and trademarks, patent number, assembled in China, recycled packaging, lithium-ion batteries contained in equipment. So we do have here one Skarper disc drive unit. Wow, look at that. That's the disc drive. So yeah, this is the gearbox and also the drive system that is going to engage at these points here. I'll put that back for now. Always remember, try not to touch your disc brake rotor because you'll get grease from your hands on, which will contaminate the pads. And this is a little clip, the device that goes on to the chainstay. And this is where you lock in the e-bike motor onto that chainstay. Also within there we've got some frame protectors. So that's the disc brake rotor bolts. Those are using the T25. Yeah, that's a T25 bolt. So don't try to do those up with anything other than a T25, and I would probably recommend a powered something like this with the T25 adapter on there, because then you'll get a much more direct torque onto that bolt rather than stripping it, and you really want to avoid stripping either the bolts when you're taking off your rotor or when you're putting a new one on. So this is the actual motor itself. So this actually looks a little bit, yeah, I've never actually held one before, had one up close, but it's quite heavy. I think it's about 4.2 kilograms. It looks pretty rugged. It looks pretty tough. And as I was saying earlier, this is where the motor engages with the disc drive system. And this is where it clips on to your frame stay. It's got a little sticker here, so make sure that you calibrate your bike or calibrate your unit before you ride. And that's something you should do when you move this unit between bikes and when you first set it up. It's quite important. I was interested in how big this is. There's a manual there as well. It's kind of like an oversized laptop charger. Input 100 to 240, 50 to 60 hertz, 120 watts, output 48 volts, 2 amp. And that's got a non-standard connection to charge it to the Skarper. So that's not a USB-C, and then you've got the UK plug there as well. With this beautiful Skarper unit. Let's get it out, let's get it on the bike, let's try it. Also within here I just thought I'd show you the pedal sensor. So that's the pedal sensor that attaches to your crank arm on the inside, and that's what measures your cadence, and also has an inclinometer that measures you know, how much power to give you going up hills, for example. We have a USB-C charger. Put that on charge whilst we change the disc brake rotor. And when you plug the USB-C in, you get 3 green flashes and then a red flash and then a green flash. I'm just going to plug that in there there's an arrow here that you align with the arrow there, just to get that plugged in, and there we go, that unit is now going to be put on charge. And we're going to charge that in an open environment, we're not going to cover it. You'll notice the indicator flashing there with the green pulsing light, just to indicate that that is on charge. So this next step's going to be really straightforward for a lot of you, but just going to remove this wheel, so we're going to drop it into the highest gear, the smallest sprocket. I've already released the clutch mechanism, so that wheel will just drop straight out. What we're going to do is just remove that QR screwer, just to get it out of the way. You just make sure those two springs are in the right place, put it back together so you don't lose everything. And then the fun begins with removal of this beautiful Tech rotor from Shimano. Just going to make sure that's in reverse. And then we're going to just get a nice direct contact on that bolt. And we're going to gradually... And yeah, so even though I've done this many times, I found that one of these that I had was loose and it wasn't getting enough torque on the bolt. So it took me a little bit longer than normal to get this out, but this is off without any damage, without the bolts getting threaded or stripped. The objective there, really, to be honest with you do not want to strip the bolt head using the wrong tool, a loose attachment, etc. So take time, make sure you get that bit right. So now the next bit is to fit the disc drive rotor. Okay, so you can now see how we've got that on there, and we've lined up the drill holes. We'll take our new fresh bolts. You can see they've got some thread lock on there, the blue stuff. And we're going to drop the first one in, and we're just simply going to reverse the action of the drill. Actually, what's better to do is to put the bolt onto the drill bit like that. And we've got it lined up. Just going to loosely drop that in there, not over tighten it first, and make sure it's properly threaded as well. And drop the next one in. Tighten them up, then over tighten them. And that's it. Okay, there's your Skarper e-bike disc drive. We're going to chuck on our skewer back in, making sure that we've got our spring with the narrow bit pointing in. And on the other side it's the same, the narrow bit of the spring pointing in. And then we're just going to loosely tighten that on. And then that is now ready to go back into the bike. So that is the disc drive rotor installed, looking good. Just one thing I would mention is that when you've installed this, you're probably going to get a little bit of rub like I've got now. But that's probably because the brake disc pad and the disc brake rotor haven't been bedded in together yet. Also adjust these two bolts, so when you put the wheel in the bike, you're probably going to get even more rub than that, and it's probably going to actually be stopping braking on the disc drive effectively. So what you need to do is loosen these two bolts off, and then you just make sure that's seated down. I normally run the wheel through a couple of times just to see how well it's running, and then tighten them back up, and there you've got your safety lock, just to make sure that that bolt doesn't come loose. But apart from that, that's installed, so we can move on to the next stage. And as you can see, we've got the Skarper unit on charge. We've got the red LED light on the charger unit, and we have a sweeping green light here on the Skarper unit. And that's good news because it means that the unit is nearly charged up. Once it's green, it's above 80%. Again, this instruction manual was really useful. I would recommend having a read through of that before you do anything as well. And it does have all the answers in there, so it's unlike one of the usual instruction manuals. It's really well written as well. And once that unit is fully charged up, I think it's going to go all the way green, solid, even in this area here. So I reckon it's about 95% charged at the moment. Just that little area there to charge. And I'll just show you on the disc brake rotor where this is going to locate. So you've got a really nicely indicated with these kind of etched in graphics there showing the disc drive and the location point. And on the Skarper unit, you'll see that sort of posi drive connection is where the motor is going to drive there, and then these 2 or 3 points here are going to go into these 2 or 3 points here, 4 points in fact. So let's just try that. The bike's in the stand, and we've got the unit here which is on charge. We're actually going to try test fitting it to the rotor just to see how things are. So let's try and locate those pins in the right places there, and then we just move the unit up, and it really is as simple as that. I think we just have to close off this lock and then it's effectively locked on. We've just got to fit the chainstay hook, which is going to go on there. But at the moment, that is nicely test fitted onto the bike, and that's kind of what it looks like. So let's go to the next stage. And so the next stage is going to be fitting the chainstay latch. And again, I'm referring to the instruction manual here. To fit the chainstay latch, something I should have mentioned earlier is there's a bunch of great videos on the Skarper YouTube channel. You should go there for installation videos and any tips that you need, and get familiar with the device before you receive it. So once we've done that, we've got the unit fitted as I just showed you. What we're going to do is put the chainstay latch on there, and the first step is to kind of test fit that, rotate it upwards like we've done, and then we're just going to put the frame protection wrap that is supplied, which is 2 little rolls of tape like that around this section here. So let's crack on and do that next. I've actually cleaned this area down with isopropyl alcohol just to make sure that when we do use that adhesive patch that it sticks really well, but I'm just going to mark it there just to give me an indication of where I need to stick it, and then I'm going to remove again. So to remove, you're going to open this latch up like that. That disengages it really nicely. Chainstay protector tape on. But what I presume it probably does is helps create some grip between the chainstay latch as well. So that's another reason for sort of putting this on. I think it wants us probably to use the entire wrap. Let's see if that's going to come off nice and easily. Of course it won't do because it's wrapped around itself. So what we'll do is we'll just cut it off at that point there, which I think is where it finishes anyway on this tape. It's a slightly fiddly task, but nothing too bad. Let's cut it off there. And then we do appear to have a nice full wrap of chainstay protection just in the area that we've marked up. So as I've already shown you, this is actually the chainstay latch. What you've got here is you've got this sort of zip tie style solution with a screw there to tighten that down, and then you've got this latch at the bottom, and that's what's going to engage with the Skarper. So we're just going to whack that straight on there, and we're going to loosely fit this at first. I noticed that this has kind of a universal design when I put it on that will fit most different frame styles. I think what we need to do is we need to put that in there, engage it, and then start turning the Allen key. Yeah, I can feel that already biting. It's good if you've got one of these T-shaped Allen keys because you can spin it from the narrow part of the Allen key or the hex key. So we're going to loosely fit it at first so that we can slightly maneuver it when we put the Skarper unit back on. I've taken it off just to get it out of the way next to me, on the bench next to me. So that's tightening up now. Now that's, as you can see, sort of semi-loose on there, and it's nicely got the tape on either side of it. And this is now ready for the next step, which is put the Skarper unit back on. We're going to cut off some of that excess there. Let's do that now. Might have to cut off a little bit more later, but we'll see. Refit the Skarper unit. So you're going to be doing this with the handle latch out, and then you're going to find these 4 locations, close off that latch there. That's looking pretty good already. So I think with that on like that, we're pretty good to tighten it the rest of the way. I'll just check that it's on the tape, tightening it up quite tight now. I can see more of that zip tie material coming out the bottom. I'll put that out. Yeah, be careful with that ball head in there. Probably just because it's a new bolt. Just double check how tight that is. Yeah, I think that's just spinning now. So I think that is just tight enough. There is your Skarper unit installed, which is looking pretty good. And where I've tightened that down, I'm just going to take off a little bit more of that excess overrun, as I said. Try and get a nice even finish there if you can. And let's just check Ooh, it's still quite loose on there. Don't know if we can just tighten that down any further or if that's meant to be. I think that's as tight as it goes. It has got a rubber bumper underneath to stop it from moving around too much, but yeah, so I think it's just really meant as a hook. The way this works is that on the bottom of the Skarper, you've got this sliding sort of fixture. So if I get the wheel in the right position to refit it again, I can show you how that slides on there. That it has a range that it can fit within. And then when you clamp it down, it clamps on there as well. It tightens up at this end. The unit is on there, as I can fit, that is tight on there. You know, really mechanically fitted to the frame. And now we're just going to put that pedal sensor, which is now fully charged up. We're going to fit that to the inside of the left-hand crank. I think that's going to be really, really simple. That's just simply a case of doing that. Obviously check there's nothing impacting any part of your bike with the Skarper unit itself. Check it all over, make sure it's completely free, not touching the frame. If it does, contact Skarper. So now we've got our Skarper fully fitted and fully charged. The last step we've got to do is calibrate our Skarper. So to do that, we've got to turn on the Skarper drive unit and the pedal sensor. So that means clicking in the pedal sensor button and also pressing and holding the calibration button and the power button on the Skarper unit at the same time. So that's this button and this button. And there's a little button on the pedal sensor there. So we're going to go ahead and do that. The important things here is obviously to make sure your bike is on a flat and level surface. As this bike has suspension, if we're using the suspension, we would need to be sitting on the bike. But just for this initial test, I've locked the suspension out, so that's not going to change. Turning on the Skarper, turning on the pedal sensor. So now we're all calibrated and we have paired previously. We should be able to turn the Skarper on and then we get that flashing white light, and I think that indicates the connection to, there we go. Now, when it turns white, off we go. So as you can see, the Bluetooth indicator light is on. We're in mode 1. If we press this again, we're in mode 2 and then mode 3. So basically eco, cruise and blast, I think it is, or something like that. But you can see that that's just bringing you up to the, I'm not even really pushing that round very hard. Bringing you up to the 15.5 miles per hour. Pretty cool. Let's get out on a ride. So I'm just going to do a little quick first impressions video. I've just been riding it on the road in the second highest of the settings, and it's been quite nice actually. First significant experience of an e-bike. I'll just jump on it here once this road is empty and give it a whirl so you can. So as soon as you start pedaling, you can hear the motor there going, and that will take you to 15.5 miles an hour. It'll keep pushing until it gets there and then it'll cut off. Meanwhile, I'm pedaling to give it that initial resistance. You know, it's basically a contribution to your cycling. That's how it's working. And that's really all I want. It's road legal. It's 250 watts, limited to 15.5 miles an hour, no throttle, and it has a pedal sensor, which are all the crucial criteria. At the moment, I've got the suspension set to locked out. So as I mentioned earlier about the calibration process, not necessary when it's locked out. Well, it is still necessary, but for the moment, I'll set it up like that. I'm quite a big rider. This is quite a light bike. It's made it quite a little bit heavier, slightly back end heavy, but at the same time, you get that push as I'm getting now. And you don't really have to do much if you don't want to. You can just turn your pedals as I'm doing there, can see the pedal sensors detecting that movement, and then it's sending the power to the motor. So I can cruise along comfortably like this without actually pedaling much at all. So yeah, that's a quick unboxing and review of the Skarper e-bike motor that you can get directly from Skarper. Log into their website, place your order, and you will have a lead time because this is a new product. They're being produced in batches from China, designed in London. But yeah, from my perspective, if you've got a bike already that you want to convert to an e-bike and you want minimal interruption on the frame, you don't want to do something that's illegal either. You know, a lot of bikes that you see are just way overpowered. It's a good alternative, I think. I think I'm quite happy with it so far, so I'll keep riding and update you later. Catch you in a bit. Okay, well here I am out on another test ride. It's the evening now. Things have got a bit dimmer light-wise, but yeah, the bike, I've just so I've taken it on this test ride down the side of this river, and what I've really noticed about it is that it detects what gear you're in and what cadence you're pulling. So because of that, it then calculates, you know, how much power to give you. And I've just also put it into sport mode again. You can see the 3 dots there above the Bluetooth light, and that has really improved like the pickup as well. And actually it was almost too fast, you know, 15.5 miles per hour off road is probably a little bit faster than I'm used to going, like pedaling. Did knock the saddle out of alignment a little bit on some of those bits, but it was actually pretty fast and furious. Yeah, really impressed actually. I'm going to carry on riding it and see how we go. We've got the lights on, and I think I haven't travelled 9.2 kilometres, have I? Maybe I have. It's really quick if I have. So yeah, it's been good. We're just out riding again, and it's day 2 with Skarper. I'm just update you on the progress so far. Yeah, it is really good. In certain circumstances like now, I'm just keeping my turning my pedals just to keep the motor going, just to push me through this field. Whereas at other times, obviously you're going downhill, you just don't need the motor at all, so it'll just cut out. And yesterday what I really noticed was the sensitivity to the gear changes and the cadence in the algorithm. That's really where they've done something well. And I've kept it in mostly in turbo mode, which is level 3, rather than eco or cruise mode. I'm going to try out eco and cruise mode for the full long-term review. But yeah, last night I rode quite a few off-road trails, and today I'm on this sort of like sandy track. And I've been through a few other sandy tracks and stuff, and 15.5 miles an hour is definitely fast enough if you're off-road. You know, it just pushes you a bit harder than you actually need to go sometimes, and then when you hit the road or a more open track like this, you can kind of like use that cruise assistance to keep you maintained around that 15.5 miles an hour. And depending on what surface you're on as well, you speed up and slow down quite a lot, so that still affects you as a cyclist, and you still do sort of contribute to the power that you're giving to the bike, and certainly that's sort of your throttle really, is by pedaling your legs. And when you're out and you just want to know your battery level, if you just give it one tap there, you can see it goes to around halfway, so I've got around half of my battery left. I've done about 10 kilometres I think, with some off-road and mostly road. And yeah, though this bike is titanium and kind of lightweight, it does have, you know, it's a mountain bike with suspension forks. I've got a D-lock strapped to it. I've got a couple of other bits, suspension seat post. So it is certainly on the heavy side, especially more at the back end, I would say. Well, thanks for watching to the end of the video. I've got loads of concluding comments that I want to make, but I'm going to probably try and keep it quite short. First of all, I'd just say that I have no affiliation or sponsorship with Skarper. This unit has been purchased completely with my own money. I have been in communication with them. Harry, Yuri, Richard, you've all been great. Thanks for your help with getting this unit to me, and that's enabled me to make this video. Apart from that, I've got ideas for other videos. I have this bag that I've also purchased for the Skarper. That's a dedicated bag that will contain the Skarper in the front there, and I think that's probably worth a little video on its own because it's such a cool bag. So if you're interested in that, please drop a comment in the comments below and ask me to make that video, and I'll go ahead and do that. And if there's any other aspects about the Skarper you'd like to know more about, I mean, I haven't included lots of detail on the rides that I've done, but in the couple of weeks that I've had it, I have done a couple of 100 kilometers probably. One of the rides was 43 kilometers. It was my commute to work, and it took me just to the door of my office before sort of running out of batteries, but that meant I could take the unit off, charge it up, and then ride home after work, which was pretty cool. Apart from that, what else would I say about this bike? It's been pretty good as a sort of an urban commuter slash leisure slash touring bike. I've put lights, bell, obviously all the usual things onto it. Thinking of putting a rack as well so I can do the supermarket runs and that type of thing. With this sort of backup bike, it's a shop bike if you like. I've got other bikes, my Enduro sort of like bike packing rig is up there. That will never change from being a conventional bike. I'm not intending to become a full-time e-biker. I'm still committed to sort of the usual Enduro and mountain biking. I also have a Kona Road NRB DL gravel bike down there that I'm going to fit the second disc drive that I've got to the 700C wheel, and I'll make a separate video about how that performs. I'm hoping that's going to be an interesting ride when that one's, so I'll make a separate video about that. Apart from that, I'd just finally say please do like, subscribe to the channel, share the video with anyone else, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video of the Skarper e-bike. Thanks for watching.